Calaroga Shark Media.
From Washington, D.C., where hopefully someone will remember to hit publish on the podcast today, this is Ballot.
Yeah, what time did this thing actually go out yesterday? 4 in the afternoon? Jesus, guys, no wonder crooked media overpays everyone. Okay, let's hit this. Some days, your producers hand you the script and realize it's not wacky enough, and you say to them, "Hey, did any of you idiots Google J.D. Vance?" After they stare at you for a minute, they give you some better material. Grab your shopping carts and your calculators, because J.D. Vance just took us on a wild ride through the dairy aisle. Our esteemed vice presidential candidate decided to show off his math skills at a Pennsylvania supermarket. And let's just say, he might want to stick to politics. Vance, clearly auditioning for the role of confused dad at grocery store, boldly declared that eggs now cost a whopping $4 a dozen, even though the sign was screaming $2.99 louder than a rooster at dawn. I guess when you're a politician, reality is just a suggestion, right? But wait, it gets better. Vance's own son, probably embarrassed enough to consider emancipation, tried to save Dad from this egregious egg error. But our hero pressed on, undeterred by trivial things like facts. Vance then treated us to a touching story about his sons consuming 14 eggs every morning. I don't know about you, but I'm picturing the Vance household as some sort of protein-powered frat house. Maybe that's where all his budget went. Forget inflation. It's the incredible, edible egg draining the Vance bank account. Of course, Vance couldn't resist blaming it all on Kamala Harris, because nothing says vice presidential material like not knowing the price of everyday items and then blaming your opponent for it. It's like a game of pin the tail on the donkey. But the donkey is the Democratic Party and the tail is, well, you get the idea. Meanwhile, social media had a field day. One user suggested Vance remove price tags before lying on camera next time. Solid advice, really. It's political screw-ups 101. But let's not forget Vance's other culinary capers. There was the donut shop debacle where he made a worker more uncomfortable than a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs. And who could forget his Philly cheesesteak faux pas? Asking about Swiss cheese at Pat's King of Steaks is like asking for ketchup on a Chicago hot dog. It's just not done, folks. So what have we learned? Well, J.D. Vance might not be the best person to send on your grocery runs. But hey, at least he's consistent. Consistently awkward around food, that is. Maybe next time he should stick to topics he knows well. Like, well, I'm sure there's something, right? It looks like the former prez and his sidekick J.D. Vance have found themselves in a bit of a pickle. And by pickle, I mean they're being charged with more crimes than a season of Law and Order. Not that J.D. Vance would know how much to charge for a pickle. Remember how Trump and Vance thought it'd be a great idea to spread some juicy rumors about Haitian immigrants in Springfield, Ohio? You know, the usual. They're eating our pets. Bigotry? Now the Haitian Bridge Alliance is fighting back, using a little-known Ohio law that lets private citizens file charges. It's like a reverse Uno card, but for legal shenanigans. The local prosecutor was too busy, I don't know, probably hiding under his desk. So the Alliance decided to take matters into their own hands. The charges? Oh, just a light sprinkling of disrupting public services, making false alarms, telecommunications harassment, aggravated menacing, and complicity. You know, your typical Tuesday for Team Trump. Man, I hope Trump doesn't go to trial and be found guilty of all sorts of things and then escape scot-free. So will Trump and Vance face the music? Will Springfield's pets finally be safe? Will anyone ever look at their chihuahua the same way again? Stay tuned, folks. This is one story that's sure to keep on giving, kind of like those political robocalls we all love so much. The New York Post reports some people in both the Trump and RFK Jr. camps are secretly doing a happy dance. Why? Because they're hoping this little indiscretion might be the final straw for Cheryl Hines, apparently the most hated woman in conservative circles since Hillary Clinton forgot to delete her emails. Poor Cheryl. She's stuck between a rock and a MAGA hat. On one hand, she's got her husband cozying up to Trump like he's auditioning for The Apprentice White House edition. On the other, she's got Trump's team treating her like she's the Yoko Ono of the political world. And let's not forget Trump himself. He's probably sitting in Mar-a-Lago right now, scrolling through Truth Social thinking, finally, a scandal that's not about me. Meanwhile, Cheryl's been spotted without her wedding ring, in Milan no less. Because nothing says I'm done with this circus, like ditching your ring in the fashion capital of the world. I feel bad for Cheryl. It's a lonely world out there. You know, Cheryl, if you need someone to talk to, or maybe grab a bite to eat with, I'm here for you. The Kennedy family has apparently written Robert off. I guess even America's royal family has its limits. Who knew it would be sexting that finally made them say, you know what? Maybe we should have stuck with sailing and touch football. So, what's next in this political soap opera? Will Cheryl stay? Will she go? Will RFK Jr. end up with a cabinet position or a reality TV show? Will she date a younger guy with his own podcast? And most importantly, will anyone ever trust a political journalist with their nudes again? Stay tuned, folks. This is one story that's sure to keep on giving. Kind of like those embarrassing photos you thought you deleted but somehow end up on the cloud. Politics. It's just like high school but with bigger budgets and better lawyers. Joe Biden, remember him? Don't worry, he doesn't either. It looks like Grandpa Joe decided to take his final bow at the United Nations. And boy, did he make it a doozy. Our fearless leader, who woke up mid-debate to discover that he's too old to run for office, decided to impart some sage advice to his fellow world leaders. Some things are more important than staying in power. Like going to bed before 9, he said, presumably while desperately trying to remember where he left his reading glasses. Biden took us on a thrilling journey through his political career, from his days as a bright-eyed 29-year-old senator to his current role as, well, let's just say he's lived long enough to see himself become the villain in some people's eyes. The president spent a good chunk of time patting himself on the back for his Ukraine strategy. Apparently, he thinks he's single-handedly saved democracy from the big bad Russians. I guess nobody told him about the ongoing war and humanitarian crisis. But don't worry, folks. Biden's got it all under control. He's throwing money at problems left and right. $500 million here, 1 million vaccines there. It's like watching Oprah. But instead of cars, everyone gets a slice of the American taxpayer pie. And let's not forget the star-studded guest list. Biden also touched on the Middle East crisis, AI, and his long political career. It was like a greatest hits album, but with more mumbling and confused pauses. Wait until Joe finds out portions of today's podcast were made with the help of AI, especially the part that made fun of him. As he wrapped up his speech, Biden reminded us that things can get better. Well, Joe, after listening to that address, I sure hope you're right. Let's hope the world doesn't fall apart before January, or we might need to wheel him back in for an encore. He's still eligible for a second term, you know.